So Luka Doncic this season is averaging the most points of his career thus far. And even though the Dallas Mavericks at the trade deadline has somewhat revamped the roster, the results have been pretty much the same. But Hall of Famer / shit talker Charles Barkley had brought a good point of emphasis on Luka's game, as players like him through the annals of NBA time have somewhat brought down their production. But we'll properly link this into historical context. You guys check it out, and every once in a while I'll check in.
Ernie, and Ken and Shaq can agree or disagree, the Mavericks frustrate me so much because they should be so much better. You know, we make a big deal out of Luka's numbers. His numbers should be going down. When you play with better players, when you're a great player, the better players you play with, your numbers should go down. He's got to do a much better job of getting rid of the ball, using those other guys. And they're playing the same way they played when they didn't have any talent. They got P.J. Washington and
Daniel Gafford.
And Gafford. But Luka, as great as he is, he's got to learn to play without the basketball. Ernie, when you play, and Shaq would know this better, and Kenan knows this also. When you play with better players as a great player, the game should be easier, not harder. Your numbers should go down, not up. And his numbers are going up. That's why they're not winning.
And Charles right here is exactly on point. And bringing this back to historical context, before Phil Jackson took over for the Chicago Bulls in 1989, Michael Jordan was averaging 35 points, 37 points per game. He was going off and doing his thing. It was not until Phil Jackson got there and had him trust his teammates more and implemented that triangle system. And then we started to see Jordan averages somewhat come down. He never ever went back to being that 35 points per game guy. He always hovered around 30, but he was winning. That was a key difference. And the same thing could be said about Kobe Bryant. As soon as Shaq left, he went on his little scoring stretch where he was doing him, especially in that 2005-2006 season where he dropped 81 points in that game. For that year, he averaged 35 points a game. Then he averaged 31. But of course, when the Grand Zen Master came through, his averages started going down, about 5 points less per game. He went all the way back down to averaging 28 to 26 points per game when they end up making their final runs from 2008 all the way to 2010. And Luka right now is playing the James Harden style of basketball that we've seen from the mid-2010s. But similar to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, when Harden was hovering around 27 to 30 points per game, that's when the Houston Rockets seen their most success. During the 2016-17 season, when they finished third in their conference, and he averaged about 30 a game, and in the following season in 2017-2018, he averaged about the same and they finished first place in their conference. But between that 2017 and 18 season, from the following season in 2018-2019, he went from 30 points per game to 36 points per game. And that's where you begin to see the Rockets falling outside of the top three in the division from year in, year out. As in that 2018-2019 season, the Rockets finished as a fourth seed in their division, while James Harden averaged 36 points per game. And in the next season, he averaged 34 points per game, while the team once again finished as the fourth seed in their conference. So that Luka Doncic / James Harden heavy usage style of play does not really work, especially when you start to pass 30 points per game. And that's historical across the board, going from Kobe Bryant to Michael Jordan. And speaking of Kobe Bryant, he touched base on this type of scenario, explaining that that style of play is not conducive to winning a championship. You guys check it out as he explains the 2018-2019 season in which everyone saw James Harden have a bump from averaging 30 points per game to averaging 36. And Kobe explains what he already understood, judging the scenario from a champion's perspective and also from a historical perspective, as he comes from the tutelage of guys like Michael Jordan.
James Harden, of course, crazy streak this season. What do you think of what he's doing right now?
Well, I think I'm not a fan of in terms of winning championships. I don't think that style is ever going to win championships. But at the same time, you have to keep your team's head above water to win games. So you have to do what you have to do to win games, and he's doing that, right? Now, I think...
So are you saying you don't think James Harden and the Rockets, as constructed, can win a title?
Not with this style of play, it won't win, right? With one player dominating the ball. Now when you have Chris Paul come back and you have more movement, to the offense where you move guys around, where you're harder to find.
And Chris
now
Paul's back, but you mean more in the...
Yeah, because listen,
yeah.
if you take one player, you put him at the top of the key, or you put him on the wing, and you're running screen rolls, you're always in front of the defense. The defense can key on that, particularly in the playoffs. And that's easy to defend.
Now right there, even though CP3 was out, Kobe emphasized that type of style of play will not work in the playoffs the higher up you go. Now, two-time NBA champion Kenny Smith further elaborated on Barkley's thoughts about Luka's uptake in his scoring. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Winning.
So, Kenny, he said you could agree or you could disagree. Which are you going with?
I would agree that the numbers should go down in the sense that, or they should be easier. It could be easier. I would say this. I was blessed to play with one of the greatest players ever played with, Hakeem Olajuwon. I averaged 17 points in Sacramento. I got to Houston, I averaged 17.8, but it was the easiest 17.8 that I ever averaged in my life. It was so easy because he creates so much attention and diversion that the guys have to guard you singularly or they have to leave you. I don't know if it's his numbers would go down, Chuck, but I don't know if his baskets are getting easier.
They're not getting easier.
Because they're not utilizing playing off people. So I would agree that they're not getting easier baskets. He's still getting the same amount, but it's not easier.
Agree, disagree?
I disagree, and I'll explain in a moment. Kyrie and Luka, they both have the same problems. They do what great players do, but they don't do what the greatest players do. I don't think their numbers should go down. If you're going to have your numbers like that, you should be able to do both, and it's been done. Michael Jordan numbers didn't go down when he started winning.
Actually, they did.
Yo, Shaq smoking crack, man. They did.
No, he did.
Yes, they did go down.
He was able to do both. Michael Jordan was the leading scorer in the league.
He was not able to do both. No, sir. He never averaged nowhere near 35 points per game when Phil Jackson came through in 1989. Not even close.
When he was winning championships.
Yeah, but his numbers went down, Shaq.
How did you decipher?
There's a big difference. The difference is people had to get you the ball. Luka has the ball. He's got to get rid of the ball more often.
And Michael got rid of the ball and still was the leading
But I'm saying it's a different thing. Like they had to give you the ball to be the great player you were. Luka starts with the ball. He's got to get off the ball. Go back and look at Michael Jordan. And they talked about that in that documentary.
He went from 37 to 31, I believe.
He did.
I just remember him averaging.
Because when he was averaging 37, 38 points a game, they were not winning.
Underdog points out his 3 highest scoring seasons, all before his first championship.
No.
Yeah. These guys got to do their research, man. Sometimes Kenny Smith and Shaq, I don't know what the hell is going on with those guys. But as soon as Phil Jackson came through in 1989, that Russell Westbrook style of play, just scoring a bunch of points, Michael Jordan just never, ever returned to that because Phil Jackson does what many great coaches do. They buckle down their star players into a system in which they can also trust teammates. The star players will always average what they're going to average, but them scoring 36 points per game and winning a championship, especially as perimeter players, it's not going to happen.
Question. And he said that in the documentary because he said when Tex Winter said to him, Michael, you got to trust the other players. And that's going to piggyback on Kenny's point. If he trusts those other guys, they're going to be like, you know what? We know he's not going to shoot.
Ernie. You got to be able to do both. You got to be able to.
He should be getting 30, Shaq, instead of 36.
Whatever your number is.
Barkley's right. Barkley's spitting the truth. He should be getting 30. As I explained before, Kobe Bryant was hovering around 30. Michael Jordan hovered around 30. James Harden, in his most successful years with Houston, hovered around 30. As soon as he made the jump from averaging 30 a game to 36 points per game, the Rockets have far less team success.
You should be able to get that, but Chuck is right. You still got to get other people involved.
People forget when they look at field goal attempts and they look at free throws. When you get fouled on a shot, it doesn't count as a free throw attempt. A field goal attempt. So you take 20 shots and you get 15 free throws, you still have taken 8 more shots that are not being accounted for. And so it is a bulk of shots. So most people say, oh, he only took 22 shots or 20. No. But if you shot 15 free throws, you probably shot 35 times because he got fouled on the other ones that they do not count as attempts.
That is a great point brought up by Kenny Smith. These shots that are not counted that Luka attempted, it cannot really lead to great camaraderie on the floor with other teammates. because guys are just pretty much standing around and guessing when you're going to give them the ball. Once again, historically, it's been shown the greatest players have had to dial the scale back quite a bit when it comes to playing championship basketball. But hey, this is one of the rare few times we get great analysis from guys like Charles and Kenny when they're not on their shit talking phase. So it is what it is.